This show is part of the RetroZap.com podcast network.
When is the award? Has the deadline passed? Is this a fair trade? Oh no, my app just crashed. What is my card worth? And will the value last? You can find the answers on the Trade Federation podcast. You can find the answers on the Trade Federation podcast.
Hey everybody, this is Joe, aka Elgar Choman.
Charming to the last.
This is Bill, aka Lost Star Wars.
And this is Steven, aka I'm Vader.
I am your father.
And this is the Trade Federation, a podcast dedicated to top Star Wars card trader and other collectibles.
Check us out on RetroZap.com. Right now, I'm looking at a podcast episode that I haven't listened to yet, but I am dying to hear. The Deucecast movie show, which is like the best movie show. It's so good. They did a Marvel universe discussion. So it's like a whole episode dedicated to like Marvel movies and like what's going to happen in the future with Marvel stuff, Marvel TV, Daredevil. It looks like a ton of awesome stuff for Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Nice. Yeah, I keep meaning to listen to them more often, and then I get distracted with a million other things. And I have listened, though. It is a great show. Everything on RetroZap is great, though. I mean, if we're being honest.
Yeah, and if you like Michael Knipp from the Card Trader Illuminati, he's on that podcast. That's his podcast that he's been on for years now. It's been around for a long time. But yeah, so it's really good stuff.
Nice. So we've got a ton of card tradery stuff to talk about this week, I think. But where is there someplace in particular we want to start? Maybe we should start with welcoming one Topps Chuck to the team. Yeah,
so Topps Chuck suddenly appeared on Twitter, and he is an associate producer, I think his title is. And so he kind of appeared and started tweeting, and I was not sure at first because we hadn't heard from Jer in a while. Like if, was kind of wondering, did Jer get replaced or what? And, but not the case. So now there's a producer and an associate producer on Star Wars Card Trader. Topps Chuck seems pretty friendly on Twitter, just like Topps Jer. They both sort of engage with the traders, the fans. So welcome to the community.
For sure. I think it's been a long time coming. We're getting multiple people finally working on the app. That's something people have been hoping and dreaming about for like forever now, and it will be nice if this is the case. If we're going to have two people dedicated to dropping stuff in the app. And has it just been about the past week that there's been a ton of sets and stuff finally coming again for Star Wars Card Trader.
Yeah, I always wonder what the time frame is for when they get hired on to when the higher ups feel that they're able to be unleashed to the dogs that is Twitter. It seems like I just wonder how long was he there? Was he there for these sets to start, or did he just come on that day and they're like, here's your Twitter account?
It's hard to tell. I assume those sets must have been in development for a while, but it's hard to tell if he had anything to do with those or if it was just like the other day on Twitter was day one, and then I kind of dumped a bunch of work into his lap. So I apologize for that, Chuck. But, I mean, people, the whole ban thing, if people don't know, there might be some people who are oblivious to it. There were a bunch of people who were getting banned just because they had an email address that ended in @me.com, which was an old Apple email address from ages ago or something. Somehow they got flagged and blocked, banned out of their account permanently. And a bunch of people were all confused, and I referred a bunch of people to Topps Chuck, and he ended up sorting it out pretty quickly, actually. So good on him for doing that or whatever. But I don't know if he expected to have a bunch of like customer service work dropped on him on day one.
Do you think they warned them? Like, they're like, okay, if you're going to sign up for Twitter, just know this is what's going to happen.
I think there's probably a list like of usernames where it's like, watch out for these people.
Yeah, I can almost, with total confidence, say that Jer had to warn him. I mean, there's no way that with all of the kinds of interactions that I've seen happen with Jer, there's no way that he didn't warn Chuck. Like, this just can't be possible.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I'm sure there's nobody listening who couldn't name 10 accounts that are like, it doesn't, like, these might be good people, but they are going to be the people you are going to be dealing with a lot if you're going to be a Twitter face of this company. So it'll be interesting to see. I've been told by Tops Chuck that it'll become more apparent what he is, kind of doing in app as time goes on. So we might be seeing some pretty cool stuff coming down the pike.
And I look forward to summer stuff. Last summer was a lot of fun in app, and I think a lot of that has to do with me personally and my own schedule freeing up at the end of June and stuff like that. So I kind of hope that there's some really awesome stuff that comes out this summer. I mean, we got some events going on this summer. We have, like we did last year, San Diego Comic-Con coming up, and then I think the following week, which I think both of these are in July, but the following week is Celebration London. And so those things will, I'm sure, be pretty big events in app.
Yeah, I would think there's going to be something dropping around those times. But is everybody just like, come on, Rogue One stuff? Everybody's still waiting for it. It's still, there still hasn't really been anything from anywhere as far as promotional material, but
no.
Give me a break.
I wonder if one of these cons is where they might show up. Like, that might be their introduction during one of them.
That's my hope. I think that must be what a lot of people are hoping for at this point. But at least we're getting something that isn't just 8 bits and like more posters annoyingly dropped with different pull mechanics and stuff. So we got a bunch of new sets, but are there ones that are not featured on the poll that we should maybe quickly talk about now, since we won't naturally touch on them later?
Indeed there are. The first one that comes to mind is the return and revision of the Prism set, which I think is a great looking update. It kind of like captures the original one, but also has a new look to it. And so, yeah, Prisms came out, I don't know, a couple days ago, and that one wasn't. I don't think that one is on there. Let me just double check one more time. Yeah, that one's not on there.
Yeah, it looks good though. I do like it. I didn't end up chasing it, though I couldn't tell you what I am chasing. But not that. Anyway, it was just a little bit too much. If in 5,000 credit packs, I would have gone for it. But for some reason, the 7,500 scared me off.
Yeah, and the easiest one is 1 in 30. So 1 in 30 in 7,500 pack. That's a pretty tough chase.
Yeah.
The weird thing about Prism is I don't understand why they called it Prism Volume 2 and not Series 2. Seems like an odd change.
Well, the fact of the matter is Series 2 has kind of lost what it used to mean. Like, it used to kind of be, in the first year of the app, for the most part, there were a couple times where it might not have been this way, but for the most part it seemed like Series 2 was really Series 2, and the one that occurs to me is the Classic Art, where that one really felt like a Series 2, even though it wasn't as good, nowhere near as good as the first one. Mm-hmm. It felt like a Series 2 rather than just a kind of like another wave. But I feel like some of the more recent things have gone right into Series 2 rather than just being another wave. So maybe volume is the new kind of bigger reset type of notion.
It could be. It's interesting to wonder. Maybe they just think the first Prism was like it really told a story. It spun a yarn somehow. Those first cards, and the second wave is worthy of being called a volume.
What I would like to think is that maybe because the design is different, they went with Volume 2 as opposed to keeping the same design and calling it Series 2. So maybe going forward, anything that has the same design as the previous series will be called Series, and anything with a slightly tweaked design would be called Volume. It's a random thought.
Yeah.
I mean, they've already messed it up with posters, being Poster Series 2, but maybe going forward, that might be a way to delineate series, direct continuation of a series versus changes to the look of a set.
Right, like a new version of the set coming
Yeah.
back. There's also the possibility that they're just calling it volume, and they're just throwing different words out there that mean the kind of the same thing. You know what I mean? Like we might be reading if we try to find patterns.
You
things
mean like
that
you mean like
sometimes-
using colorway instead of variant?
Did they use that?
What was that? What was that for? I noticed that the other day, and I was dying laughing because something.
That was the Snoke signature.
Yeah, that's right. This is the only time this colorway. That's not a word, right? Surely colorway. I would have heard it by now.
I'm so glad that somebody actually posted on Twitter the dictionary definition of colorway, because I wouldn't have believed it was an actual word either.
I mean, that's madness. It's real funny, though. I don't know. I just kind of laughed about that for about 10 minutes, just reading it over and over with the word colorway.
This is very fancy. It's a very fancy way to say variant.
Speaking of colorways, you were working on some special colorways and variants and cool things of your own, Steven.
Yeah, it was actually, and I'm probably going to butcher this last name, but Ian Hundiak, who posted that. He posted a card that Matthew Petz had made that he said was never going to be in the app, but it was like it reminded me a lot of the 2015 base variants that were listed in the app under specific, and they were those ones that pulled like colors from the actual character for the border of the card.
One of the best variants I think that they ever did. Like one of the best series of base variants for sure.
Yeah, it was super cool. It tied the whole card in really well, and so yeah, after he posted that signature, I just got bored one night and took it upon myself to create my own template and do those sort of specific cards for the signature, the 2016 signatures. Yeah, and then from there, I just I went a little crazy, and then I started making my own series, my own made-up series.
I woke up the next morning, and there was this, in our own little chat, there was this Greedo variant. Or actually, I think it was a tweet, and you had tweeted it, and I saw it, and immediately I didn't read anything. I just ran to the app to see what was happening. And then it occurred to me that it was to look back, because I didn't see it there. And I was like, ooh, nice custom.
Yeah, I felt kind of bad because I was posting them as I was making them on Twitter. And then when I made one where the actor or actress featured had a Twitter account, I was tagging them in it. Mm-hmm. And there was one, it was the Dasha one, where I felt so bad because there was a podcast, I think she retweeted it, or I'm not too sure, but there was a podcast that asked her, like, hey, do you remember this process? How long did it take you to sign these? Blah, blah, blah. And I had to say, oh, sorry, it's not real. So
You're forging signatures.
Steven.
Yeah, forgeries.
Don't sue me.
The Tarkin one you made is the most epic thing I have ever
that
seen.
was pretty cool. Some of them had really cool color combinations. One thing I did notice after making about 10 or 12 of them is that there's a lot of sand color in Star Wars. That kind of like grayish brown came up a lot when I was pulling colors from the images.
Interesting.
Yeah, I never thought about it, but it makes sense when you see them, like the cards you put together. I never go, well, those don't look right together. It always looks good. Well, are there any other sets we should touch on that we will not talk about when the poll rolls around?
Well, let's talk about, speaking of signatures, let's talk about the double and triple SIGs.
For sure, yeah. I'm most interested in the doubles because one of them is Tarkin, and now I gotta get that stupid thing, which is really annoying. At first I was like, as far as I'm concerned, with respect to the man, Wayne Pygram, whatever his last name is not Tarkin. But I have since loosened my stance on Tarkin, and now I feel like I have to get those too. So I'm not going to be able to not try and get the dual signature. And in fact, this is embarrassing, but I did take multiple 1 in 20 shots at getting one, and did not get anything. So it's pretty shameful. I feel like that's horrible of me to admit and to have done.
I took a 1 in 20 shot just because even if you don't get it, you're still getting orange. Well, maybe greens, but I got two. I know you said you got 2 oranges and one of them, the only one you fessed up to in the chat. So now it comes out that you've done more than one.
Yeah,
but
I think it was 3. I think it was 3 that I tried.
But yeah, I got 2 oranges in my pack. So for 99 cents, 2 oranges plus a shot at a dual signature. It's not a horrible option.
The card design is pretty awesome, I think.
Oh, I really like it. And I mean, the fact that it's like a series, if they had done these dual SIGs as a marathon, I would have chased it. Like, no matter how hard it was, I would have gone.
That would have been really cool.
Yep.
But to just drop all 20 at once and your only option is put money in, I mean, I'll take my little shots here and there, but I wasn't gonna. There was never any hope of being like, I'm gonna get all 19 plus the awards. Not happening.
Huddle. I think Huddle does. I know Bunt does marathons that are relics and signature series. They both have. Or I mean, I know for sure that Bunt has both relic and signature marathon chases. So that would be cool if they do a series 3 of marathons to have either one of those, really.
Yeah.
A lot of people hate relics, but I love the relics.
I don't mind them.
Yeah, I don't either. The only relics I've ever really had are kick relics, but I think those are fine. I guess maybe I had Ewok for like 10 minutes or something, and then I flipped it for something. I like the idea of the digital relics of digital things. That's still my favorite idea. It's like things that weren't physical objects. Not Endor Bunker relic is my least favorite digital relic because it's absurd. It's just like a picture of a grainy square. If you actually owned that square, that would be sweet. I would like treasure that thing. But just a picture of it, not so good. But if you were to be like, here's like Yoda's ear or whatever, the digital Yoda, not the puppet. This is the digital Yoda. If we remade the film right now, he'd be missing an ear because here it is on this card. I'll take it. That's awesome to me.
I don't know if you saw, but I started, I think last night or maybe the day before, just messing around with dual relics. And one of the ones that I made was for LOM and Zuckuss, and the relic is a piece of each of their eyes.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah, I just I do like the random pieces of a character as a relic would be pretty interesting.
I always thought the Lando's mustache would have been the most epic thing ever.
That would have been super cool.
Oh, you might get tagged in a tweet tonight.
I look forward to it.
I wanna know. Do you guys think with the SIG cards or whatever, do you think Topps just digitized like a version of a signature that they already had from physical cards, or do you think they did it the cool way, which is like the way they did those recent Huddle ones, where they sat these actors down with a tablet and just had them sign their name on it? I'm not saying did they sign it 300 times. I know that's not the case, but just to me, it's cooler if they handed them a tablet and said, sign in that little box one time, than to have just taken whatever they had on file and pasted it in. I don't know why there's a difference in my brain, but
because the way that I think that they did it, at least in the beginning, because there was a couple of them that were, when they very first released the signature cards, there was a couple that were really weird that didn't even match the character's signature at all. And I had thought maybe they were taking them from like legal documents that they had, like when they signed with Topps and they used their like professional signature. Maybe that's what they were using. But I mean, the Ahsoka one has her Ashley and Ahsoka signature, so they're at least not doing it anymore. But yeah, I don't think that they're sitting them down with a tablet, as cool as that would be.
Yeah, you could probably find them and compare. Writing looks a lot different when you write with a stylus than it does when you write with a pen. Even if you're pretty good at it, it still does look a lot different. So I'm sure you could do a little research and look at some and compare it and probably make that decision. But I would imagine. I mean, they just dropped how many? I guess there's a couple that are like they reuse the same, like Rex is on too and stuff. So there's not quite as many as there are cards. But so what are there? 19. So maybe there's like 12 or something unique ones in that set. It's still kind of a lot for them to. Maybe at conventions and stuff is where they could do that. Like they're not coming to the Topps headquarters and and signing.
And I don't think
right.
Yeah, I don't think they would have done that and not had any fanfare behind it. Because I mean, if you've followed them at all for the Huddle stuff, like they were really playing up the fact that, you know, they had these guys, they were signing these cards, you know, these digital cards on these tablets, and
yeah.
And, you know, if it were a Star Wars character, I get where you're coming from, Joe, because to me, that almost makes it more like they are actually signing that card. You know, even if they just do it once and then they put it on 300 digital cards and, you know, just copy and paste, it's still like specifically for that, which makes it pretty cool. But yeah, I don't think it's something that would be done behind closed doors without them announcing it at all, because it would be pretty awesome.
Another thing I wanted to say was that I just saw somebody, as you often do, I saw somebody in the, you know, fan feed or transmission complaining like, the idea of a digital signature is so stupid and pointless or whatever. And for whatever reason, I kind of like the SIGs, but I feel like, to me, the idea of a digital signature is no worse than the idea of buying a signature card off of eBay, despite the fact that you don't actually have a physical thing. But I always thought that surely the fun of having a signature was it reminded you of the memory you had of meeting that person and having them sign something. Just purchasing a signature off of eBay or whatever is kind of like, that's cool. I mean, it's cool that I got it, but I didn't actually hunt them down at a con or whatever, or miss them for 3 years in a row and then finally camp out and get Mark Hamill to sign my stupid thing.
And I mean, I just bought a house, and I would say 75% of the documents I signed were signed digitally. And I own a new house now. Like, it's official.
Wow.
Like, my digital signature, like, it's an official signature. So it's not like, to me, it's not like less.
You know that they're just
official.
they're gonna take that and copy and paste it onto a bunch of different documents, right?
Yeah, they could do that already, because every single physical one I signed was actually scanned and sent digitally anyway.
Oh, nice. Congratulations on the new house, by the way. That's
Thank you.
awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah, that is super cool. You're still giving me your old place for next to nothing, right? I mean, we've talked about that a couple of times.
Yep, it's all yours.
I hope if I show up there in a week that someone else hasn't already beaten me to it.
But yeah, no, I think it's funny though that somebody goes onto their phone onto an app that they've downloaded where they open digital packs for digital cards, and then they're going to complain about a digital signature. Like,
Yeah.
if you think a digital signature is stupid, then everything about that app should be stupid to you, because it's all just JPEGs and, nonsense.
Right.
Yeah, it's not about the cards per se. It's about the trade. It's about the experience. It's not about it's a simulation. It's an experience that simulates collecting, is what it is, and it's fun. It's a game.
For
Yeah,
sure.
it's a lot of fun. And regardless of whether it's digital or not, I mean, like you were saying, that simulates their signature. Like, you have a digital simulation of their actual signature on a simulation of a card, which is cool. I think it's cool. If you think signatures are stupid and you don't want your signature cards that you have, just send them to me. I'll gladly take them from you.
Yeah, me too. Sign me up for that. Give me a couple of free SIGs, especially if you got some Tarkin in there. I've got teal and gold so far. There's a long way to go.
By the way, the people that are complaining about that kind of thing are the people that are chasing them and hopefully just trying to get them for cheaper. Is my theory.
Yeah, it must be. I think so too. I was hoping that the teal SIGs would be worth less than they are. Like all of the fact that they were all kind of dumped at once and people were getting 4 at a time for their whatever $10 or something has devalued them. I think they're less valuable than your basic signatures. I don't know if those have a name, and those are the best looking ones anyway. So fair enough.
You know what? The basic signatures don't have a name, and it actually kind of frustrates me because I'm just kind of casually chasing the base signatures, and the other day I was trying to figure out how to search just to filter out the teals and the golds and everything, and there's just not a way. I mean, well, I might get a tweet from Lightman telling me how to do it, but
Yeah.
I don't think that there is, because the way that they look to me on the card sheet, on the checklist, is that there wouldn't be a way to filter out everything else. But hopefully he can prove me wrong. I would like to, take some screenshots of just my base signatures.
Yeah,
Right.
and like the only other option is to, like, if you want to do that, is to like unlock everything that you have locked, and then lock all of your SIGs, and then take a snapshot, and then unlock them all, and then lock everything again. It's like tedious.
Well, but the problem is that there's more than 34 or 35 SIGs, and so
Wow.
to be able to lock them all, I would need more locks.
That's
and
true.
Nobody's buying these iridescent pops, so I'm not going to get any more locks anytime soon.
Is that part of the iridescent pop thing?
Yeah.
Seriously?
If they sell out in a certain time, they're going to add more locks.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even
Yeah,
realize
it's
that.
real bizarre. It's real bizarre, the things they're just tacking on to these. I mean, it's fine. I don't know why they can't just give more locks or an unlimited amount of locks or whatever. But, I mean, they didn't have to give an opportunity for more locks. But the fact that they're like, here's a set that's merely okay, and if it sells out quick, you get more of something you probably ought to have anyway.
Like, so this set should be called Poppin' and Lockin', because it's all about locking trades and so now I'm finding out that it's about more having more locks. Like,
That's
all
my
right,
favorite thing that's ever happened.
Oh my god!
let me read the recent update. Like, the recent update is like, I can't even understand it. It says less than 1,000 C3PO and less than 1,300 May the Force be with you are left to lift the lock. So, since over 3,000 were pulled, if you add both cards together, the deadline will be extended to 12 hours. Where did that?
That's not English.
So, if both cards sell out at 9:15 p.m. tonight, we will unlock the past 2 days and give 5 card sheet locks. Like, I can't even. If I were chasing the set, that would probably make somewhat sense to me, but because I haven't been in the app at all this past week. I've just been really busy and just not that interested. And so, like, to me, that is just like gibberish. I don't even know what to make of that.
I still don't think it would make any sense.
I don't either. Bill, you're a teacher. If you can't decipher it, we got a problem. You're reading work by teenagers all day long, and if it's more coherent than that paragraph, I can't stop rereading it. It's hysterical.
I actually think, besides a couple typos, I actually think grammatically the sentence is okay. It's just that there's so many like rules and there's so many scenarios and situations that I don't know about. Like, because I just kind of took a look today because Brent wanted us to talk about the pops. He's
yeah. Well, no, he loves it, right? I mean, didn't he? Is that what he said, that Pop is like one of his favorite sets?
Oh,
yeah,
that's right.
He's a fan of Pop, but he doesn't like the mechanics because I think you can't trade them either unless they sell out. It's like a weird hostage situation.
That is actually how he described it, the hostage situation where the things keep changing. What they're doing keeps changing based on like things were selling out, right? And trading was unlocking, and then they kind of changed it up to try to make it so that it was a little more of like a challenge or something like that. But
here's the thing. So when it started out, I thought it was actually a pretty cool concept. It was 1 in 12, and it did have that same kind of thing that was like it had to sell out in 12 hours for it to be unlocked, which, is fine. 12 hours is a long time. Most cards will sell out in 12 hours. It was 3,500 card count. And the locks were like a bonus thing. It was like if it sold out in 2 hours, they were gonna add 5 locks. If it sold out in 4 hours, they were gonna add 3 locks. And then if it sold out in 12 hours, they were gonna add 1 lock. And I thought that was, it's it is that thing that's like they could just give us however many locks they want. But I did think it was pretty cool that they made a little bit of a challenge to it. But yeah, then the problem is that they kept upping the card count.
Yep.
And lowering the time that it had to sell out. And that's a recipe for disaster in any set. The further you get into any set, the less people that are chasing it. So if you're going to up the card count, you can't cut the time limit in half and expect it to sell out. And I don't think any of them have.
Have any additional locks happened at all in the set? Or are we still at 30?
Yeah, I think we have like 33 or 34.
Oh, okay.
I think the first 4 sold out in the allotted time frame, and so we got like 1 for each one. But then the last 2 prior to these 2 they dropped today didn't. So those cards are still locked, and they didn't add any locks to the app.
We are at 34.
34. Okay, yeah. So now they keep trying to, with every subsequent card that they release, they keep trying to say, okay, do this one in the time frame, and we're going to unlock all of them, and it still doesn't work.
And 12 cards.
So this one didn't either. The ones that they dropped today didn't either. They had to extend the time.
Do you know what number card we're on? Like, are we on like 5 or something? 6?
I think it's like 6 or 7. They dropped 2 today. So I think maybe today was 7 and 8. I don't know. I haven't really been following it because I read the original transmission and I just kind of walked away.
I apparently didn't get even far enough to know that locks were like card sheet locks were involved. I just saw that I just read it as some of these are gonna be tradable and some are not, and I was like, nah, I'm not gonna, because I'm just gonna assume that they're all gonna be untradeable and I'm not gonna chase a set. Because there's no way I'm finishing a set like that while chasing posters without trading.
It's funny to see the rules be bent, though, to where they made the rules like you can't trade it unless it sells out in X amount of hours, thinking this will make everybody want to buy them up real fast. And then that failed. But clearly, they don't want everybody to drop out of the set because they missed their chance to trade for an older one. So it's like we need to stretch the rules a little bit and get those things trading. Like Brent is already worried. He missed the R2-D2 or something, and if they don't significantly bend the rules to make that thing tradable, there's no reason for him to continue to chase the rest of the set. He can't get the award, and tons of people must be in that same boat. So now a ton of people who would have spent a ton of credits and maybe money chasing it can't chase it or won't chase it because what's the point? I can't get the old card that I need to trade for, and it's untradeable. So I would bet that there will be a flick of a magic wand at some point, and then it'll be like, you guys hit some secret goal that we didn't tell you about. Everything's tradable.
Last card, if it sells out in X time, it'll be everything or something like that.
If 10 packs are opened in the first 3 hours, you can trade everything. Anyway, do we want to get into?
I don't. Just real quick, I don't mind them trying stuff like this. Like, I'm glad that they're trying to get creative and they're doing different things, but I just hope that they realize when something's not working and then maybe just never do it again. I don't know.
I'm glad they're bending the rules. They should be.
Right.
They should be doing whatever they need to do to get those things to be tradable, to keep people like Brent spending credits on chasing the set. But it just does seem kind of funny when you start out with this hardline stance, and then it's like, wait a minute, that didn't go quite the way we expected. Let's back up. People shouldn't look at that as a weakness, however. That is a strength if they are willing to change a poor idea.
Yeah, no, they can react to what they're seeing. I think it's great.
But they dropped 2 simultaneously. I had visions of people chasing this and reacting kind of how I did back in almost a year ago now. Actually, a year ago today was the start of Space Paintings, my deepest, darkest journey in the app that I ever took. And I just imagined that it was like that when the next one hit within 12 hours instead of 24. Like, that was just mind-blowing and frustrating and all these other things. But yeah, I just couldn't even imagine if I was chasing that set and saw 2 hit at once. I mean, it's kind of like what they were doing with the Sugar Freeze. But we have a couple phone calls.
Yes, let's get into these, and then after those we will get into the poll where we will comment on some of the other new stuff that has come about.
Yeah, okay. So first call is from Sean, another Sean, not the Pittsburgh nerd. We will get to the Pittsburgh nerd after, but his first call is from Sean.
Hey guys, this is Sean, aka Ekamuos. I'm calling this week because I want to talk a little bit about Colored Film Quotes Wave 3. Now, I haven't heard you guys talk about it. I haven't seen anybody talk on the subreddit about it or anything. And I'm just wondering what you guys think is going to happen, if you're even aware of what is happening. If you look at this week's color quote, it's stuck at 102, and just like every other color quote in this wave, the pack is no longer available in the store. It seems like every color quote this wave seems to disappear 2-3 days after it drops on Fridays. If you'll go and you'll look at almost all of them from this wave, I don't believe any of them, except maybe the first or second one, has sold out. They all seem to be sitting at about a 120 count. Now, I have been chasing color film quotes since wave 1. And for the most part, I've had a pretty easy time trading for them, except obviously now this wave, I'm having a heck of a time because they're all extremely low count. Because, like I said earlier, they always seem to be disappearing from the store. Even though they're not sold out, you can't even buy them. Should be able to buy this current quote that dropped on Friday until the next Friday, but like I say, if you look, it's not in the store. So I'm just wondering if you guys think Topps is even aware that this is happening. Do you guys think they're going to end up throwing them in the 2-for-1 bundle? do you guys think I'm going to have any chance of finishing all Wave 30, or is this going to be rectified before the award drops? So, yeah, I was just thought I'd give you guys a call and give you a little something to chat about, and I'm curious to see what you guys think about this. All right, great podcast, guys. Talk to you later.
You know, something like that, is there a possibility, and I don't know, this is maybe crazy, but is there a possibility that people have been buying that bundle where it's like a full week of marathons or even a full month of marathons and then never opening presumably whatever pack it is that gives them those things? Or is the color quote not even a part of that, maybe, now that I think about it?
Yeah, that's kind of the exact same thing I was thinking. I was thinking that might have been it, but I don't think the color quote is part of that package.
Yeah, I think that's correct, that it's not part of it.
No, that was my one idea. So I don't know. That makes no sense to me.
I think what he said about maybe Topps doesn't realize this is happening or something, like, it seems kind of weird that it's been going on for a while now and nothing has been kind of done about it.
Is there an easy way to look at just the color Film Quote Friday cards, or do I have to just look at all Film Quote Friday cards and specifically go to the color ones myself?
I think if you search color film, it should pop up.
Okay, let me try. Color film. Searching by all cards is so slow. All right, so all I have to do is find the ones that are not marked as sold out, right? What do they normally sell out at? They're like $250? Something like that? Okay, let me blast through some of these. Let's see what we can do here. 102, 157, 141, 154, 175, 120, 120, 137. Man, these look great. These look real good, actually.
The back,
206.
The back of the card looks awesome.
It does. Yeah, if this would have been another marathon so worth chasing if they were just in color, like all of them. Would have loved it. Yeah, that's bizarre, and I'm gonna ask Topps about that directly right now.
It looks like six of the eight or nine. I forget what week we're on, but 6 of them. So yeah, I think it's 8. 6 of the 8 have not sold out.
All right. Well, I am going to try and get an answer to that right now, and we will see if it gets us anywhere.
Cool. While you're typing that up, are you tweeting or something?
Yeah, I'm just going to tweet at both of them. We'll see what happens.
Cool. We'll get into the next call. We have an epic phone call from Joe B.
Good morning, Trade Federation. This is Joe, also known as JB1127 in app, and I'm coming to you live from my house via recording. Now, I'm going to try this new format out just to see if we can cut down on the amount of call transfers. I know you guys are still sitting on a couple of calls from last week. I don't know if you'll play them or not, but you can throw this one in to the mix. So, a few topics to touch up on. First one I'm going to start off with is the poll, asking, which sets were the hottest and which ones were the coldest, in our opinion. I'm going to start off with the coldest. I think of all of them, in my opinion anyway, the coldest would probably have to be posters in 8-bit. And those are just, they just dragged on, I think, a little too long. And so I think that was kind of, and I even want to say it was kind of turning people off, but it probably wasn't, because I think when you get, 30 cards deep into a set, I think you're just, at that point, you're just collecting them just to get the set done. And so I think that's where we're at now with those, and I'm going to say that the majority of the collectors are in agreement. In terms for the hottest, I'm gonna go with the iridescent pop. I think is one of the hot ones. I think it's part of that slew of new sets that we just had drop. It's got some cool mechanics, I think. And it's kind of smart on Topps end to kind of get that thing to sell out, but also to give the folks collecting an incentive to sell them out. And that's the locks, getting the locks mechanic that they have on there. I love locks. I like their just certain sets that I love to lock up, because those are the first ones anybody ever goes for in a trade, and it just drives me nuts. So I'm all about that. I did say iridescent pop, right? Yeah. So anyway, yeah, the iridescent pop. So it was good odds. The counts are nice, and especially when it's the variable factor, kind of adds a little excitement to trying to grab them up. Overall, I think it's a fun set, nice looking, etc. The other ones were collages, which are nice. I'm kind of still not, kind of just a mixed bag whether I like the different shaped cards. I know I didn't care for it with the minis. This one's not too bad, and when you think about like physical cards, it's there's always like you get the little minis in those. Those are cool. I like them in physical cards. Kind of still out on whether or not I like it in digital card form. I don't mind it, but I don't know if I love it. So those are nice looking. They throw a little bit of the sepia and color into one card, which is nice. It's kind of a nice contrast. Nice odds, but the odds on the vehicles, 1 in 250. That's kind of crazy. So yeah, that's my thought on that one. Contour, didn't quite care for it too much. The odds were just kind of ridiculous. The design, I did get a little excited about the design in the first one. I think it was Boba. It was kind of stayed true to the whole contour lines thing. And then the second one dropped, and it just looked like somebody just threw a bunch of branches in a blender, and it kind of got away from the whole contour thing. And then, then the third one, they come back with the Vader, and you could see it would kind of stay true to the whole lines thing again. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but yeah, that's my spiel about that. The one thing I didn't like about the contours, no awards. I dig cards with no awards. It takes the stress out of trying to, scoop them up as quickly as you can. I think, in my opinion, it just kind of stops people from gouging others, because they're trying to get you to get it, to trade high for it, because, there's some looming award on it. I'm not a fan of awards, not a fan of the shelf holders either. Whatever, it is what it is. The one thing about that one, though, is the increasing odds when you pull a card. They climb, 50 to 100, 150 to 1 in 200, or 1 in 300 to 1 in 400. And then one of them was 1 in 2,000, I think. That's just nuts. So I could do without that. Not necessarily a cold, but definitely not a hot one for me. And then I talked about last week the Power Box, how I thought that was a good idea, and so this morning they dropped the Prism 2 set, which was really nice. I didn't even know they were going to throw that black into the Power Box, which is kind of a smart move by Topps, because I'm not a statistician or whatever, but I can tell that I think the interest in that was dying down just a little bit, and I think throwing that in there probably sparked some new life in there. But you know, I like the design sort of on this new Prism. You know, I think it'll take some getting used to, but I think it'll grow on me. And so I'm collecting it merely because I didn't collect the last one, the first set. And, you know, come the 1 year, I get all nostalgic about it. And then I just kind of kick myself for not having collected it. So I think I'll just kind of stay with the greens. And, you know, that way in 1 year, I'm not regretting not getting any of them. Anyway, I think that might be about it. You know, and I'm gonna throw one off topic. I mean, just like way out in left field. You know, you guys are a great podcast, and between you and the guys at Illuminati, you guys kind of opened the door for me to listen to other stuff. You know, on the Star Wars subject, and you know, even to some point to Disney. But I wanted to give a shout out to your compatriots over there at Retro Zap podcasting station there, Skywalking Through Neverland. Those guys are great. If anybody listens to this show, you know, you guys are a good, wholesome, kind of even almost say family, clean podcast. You guys should listen. You know, anybody listening should listen to them. Richard and Sarah are so upbeat and friendly, and that truly is a family podcast. And I love listening to those guys. Those guys actually just kind of make me feel happy after I'm done listening to it. They're so cheerful. But that's my off-topic rant. Anyway, so good luck with the show today. Glad I got it in on time today. You guys may regret it after listening to how long it is, but you know, good luck with the show. Have a good one, and look forward to listening. Joe out.
So it's at this point, I think we just got to get Joby on the show, because it's just begging for it's the kind of thing that is great for conversation, to be talking about it and to have response to those things as we're chatting. So Joe, as soon as you can, we record usually Wednesday nights. We're switching back to Wednesday nights. This week we did Thursday just because of some scheduling issues, but Wednesday nights, East Coast time, around like 7:15. Pick a date, come on the show, and then, you know, then we can chat for real. Skywalking Through Neverland is amazing. Go listen to Skywalking Through Neverland. It's a really, really good show. Super, super engaged, involved Star Wars fans. I feel like every other day they're at Disney. Like they're there, like they must live down the street or something, because they're there like every day. Really, really good podcast. Really like legit quality podcast. So go check out Skywalking Through Neverland.
Oh yeah, if you have people like this podcast, they are going to be floored at what good podcasting is when they listen to Skywalking Through Neverland.
I can't even imagine the editing time on that podcast. It's just really, really well produced.
The editing time I take on this is like 15 minutes. And that's on a rough one. Normally it's just like plug in 3 sound effects and say, all right, I wash my hands of this. But then again, you know, we don't make a ton of mistakes. We're pretty good.
I know it's not a RetroZap podcast. And by the way, I've now subscribed to 2 RetroZap podcasts in the course of this podcast. But do you guys listen to 7x7?
Not all the time, no. I know what it is, though. It's a 7-minute, 7 days a week, right?
Yeah. It's just all Star Wars.
It's like a flash of news, right?
Yeah, it's just really cool. Because it's like on my commute to work, which is about 10 minutes, I can throw the show on, listen to it on my way there, and be done with it by the time I get to work. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. I have listened to it. It's good.
Nice. Well, what do we got for our final call?
Okay, final call is the Pittsburgh Nerd.
Hey there, Trade Fedcast. This is Sean, a.k.a. Pittsburgh Nerd, calling in on the poll question this week. And you're asking about the cards, the sets that have been released in the past week or so. And I think one set that you kind of missed, and I guess it's probably because it's come and gone already, that I really liked was the Clone Wars Saber Warriors set that was available in the Power Box for a couple of weeks. I really like the look of that set. It was relatively easy to get through the Power Box. I traded a lot of Armory cards away to complete that set, so I like that set a lot. I like the look of it, and I kind of got overlooked because of the way the Power Box is kind of going there. The other set that's been available through the Power Box, the Armory, has been one of my least favorite sets. I wasn't a fan of the Force Awakens Armory set. I just don't like the look of those cards myself. I like that they're putting a spotlight on the weapons of the movies. I like that a lot, but I just don't like the presentation. I think something else would be kind of cool, and I know it'd be unheard of at this point, but a little something on the back about the weapon would be kind of interesting. Maybe make that card a bit more appealing to me. But overall, I just haven't been a fan of that set, so when I would get those, I would actually trade those for the Saber Warriors, and I found the trading rather easy doing it that way. A lot of the other sets have been basically passes for me as of late, just because I'm credit poor. But the Contour set, I kind of like that, the look of that set. That was kind of nice. The new Pop set, that's okay. The watercolor set, it's all right. It's a nice looking set. I don't believe, that one's not like the previous watercolors where you had black and white and sepia and color. So that's a better job by Tops there. The collages have been okay. The sets have been good. They haven't been fantastic. Nothing has made me want to run out and spend my piggy bank money on it or anything. But for the most part, as always, Tops is doing a good job of kind of catering to everybody, in my opinion. But I think you guys missed out with at least having on the poll with that Saber Warriors set. It's probably just because it's sold out at this point. But that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. So there you go. As always, great job. Keep up the great work. Can't wait to hear the new episode. Have yourselves a great day.
Nice. Thanks for calling in. I'm surprised people were willing to trade their Saber Warriors for Armory cards, because Armory cards were the booby prize of the Power Box, as far as I'm concerned. Am I wrong? I don't know.
I must have had to been like 2-1 or something. That's kind of what I was getting, is giving up 2 or 3 of the Armory for a Saber Warrior or emblematic or whatever.
The Power Box, I was in love with that thing for a while because there was nothing else going on, so I spent like a fortune on buying those things. And I completed Saber Warriors, though I don't think I ever actually pulled one. I don't know how I did that. That was a fluke. And then I'm like 2 away from having emblematic done, and I have so many greens and oranges now compared to before. But then they dropped like a ton of sets that I would have chased if I hadn't been spending 25 or 50,000 credits at a time on these boxes. So I don't know how to feel about it.
I never opened one, and I didn't get involved enough to kind of like learn about all of the sets, so I never really traded for any either. It's kind of weird. Like it's almost like the Power Boxes existed in this other like space-time continuum than I did for that last week or so. But again, like I said earlier, I have not been in app at all recently.
I do love the idea of the box in the digital card world, and spending a certain amount more for a guaranteed insert And I like the fact that there's a bunch of them, and that seems to match up to the physical side pretty well. The one who I think does it best is actually on Bunt. There are a lot more, but when you buy a box on Bunt, you get like 10 packs. And so you open a pack and get whatever you get, and sometimes it's base, or sometimes it'll have an insert in it, and then you refresh and there's another free pack that you open up, and I really like that model. I kind of hope they adopt that model going forward. But yeah, I really like the power boxes. I like the Clone Wars sets that were in them way more than the Armory. I'm with Sean. I don't like the Armory at all.
I think the Armory is something that I'll have fun chasing down later on, but I don't know that I would have had fun chasing it right now. And I agree with him. It would be interesting if there was info about the weapon or something. Like, Star Wars has I don't know if they go this deep with the weapons themselves, but like ships have manufacturers, and there's a whole story of who kind of like manufactures the different ships and the history of the ships and stuff like that. Like, the hero ships were manufactured in the Clone Wars era. The hero ships were like manufactured by the same company that ultimately starts manufacturing the like TIE fighters and stuff, and you can kind of see that evolution. And I don't know, just something like that. I don't know if Star Wars lore goes that deep with the weapons, but something interesting would bring something to it, I think.
Well, I know the physical sets have those. I think they have Armory in the physical set, and I don't think I've ever looked at the back of one of those cards. I don't know what kind of information is on the back of those, but I know that the Force Awakens physical set has like the equivalent to the Armory, if it's not actually called Armory. So it'll be interesting to see what's on the back of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe with 2 people working on this app, we could get some information on the back of cards again.
Biggest request.
Do you think I'm dreaming?
I think that should be like our campaign. Like, if anyone at Topps listens, that's our biggest request right now is to have information brought back. I mean, we probably mention this every other week, I would say.
So my only thing is, and I know that we're pretty far removed from it now, but the set that had the most, what is probably, besides the base cards from Series 1 and 2, the set that had the most information that I think may have been produced by Topps itself on the back of the digital cards was Galactic Moments.
Yeah.
And right. I don't know that was the cause of the delay in Galactic Moments, but it definitely, approvals could have definitely contributed to the delay. So that's the only issue that I have, is that if putting information on the back that has to be approved through Disney and through Star Wars, I'm okay with it not being there.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. Like, it might be more of a headache than it's worth if that's the case. Yeah.
Right. But there's a good chance that was something to do with it. But don't forget that originally all base cards had information about the character on the back too, which was
But that was all created prior to the app even dropping.
Yeah, and I'm sure that probably sat in approvals for a long time, which didn't stop it from having information cut off on the back of the cards and, lines just ending in the middle of a sentence.
Well, you can tell that the higher-ups at Topps were like, nobody's going to read this garbage anyway.
Right.
I have read every single card in this app at this point. I'll tell you that right now.
It reminds me of that movie Elf, when he's going to approve the book that has the last page missing. And he's like, no, these are the little kids. They're not going to care what happened to them.
This is the exact opposite with the internet. The exact opposite. When you have people like Josh Lightman, it's like it's the reverse. Every little tiny thing is going to be, and not just Josh. I mean, it's everyone. I'm not just trying to call out him, but it's like every little thing. Like, I swear, the only people who respond to our episode posts in Reddit are people who are correcting something that we made a mistake on in our casual conversation that we did very little planning for. But
Yeah.
I digress.
No. The one thing though is there definitely has been cards in the app that were direct like scans of physical cards that didn't include the back of the physical card.
Yeah.
That had, the back of the physical card had information, the digital one didn't. So hopefully if they're going to bring physical cards into the digital world, they can scan both sides of the cards when they upload them. That'd be pretty cool.
That would be nice. You would think that those files for physical cards already exist on a computer somewhere and don't need to be scanned because surely they were created on a computer and sent to a printer anyway. It should require no extra work. In fact, somebody like for the original Rebels set, they must have had to make the back of that card instead of just giving you the stats about the character that were originally there.
That's true.
Whatever.
We're trying to save them work.
Yeah, it would be easier.
I would love it.
At least with the illustrated, we just got them translated directly over, and I think Jedi Legacy is the same. It's just the directly translated from physical.
I would love to hear someone from Topps talk about the backs of cards and just kind of talk about like why that is, why there's just no text there. And I wonder if it does get to like what Steven was saying and approvals and stuff, even potentially with cards that were already approved for physical distribution. It could be that everything needs to be approved again for digital. I don't know, but yeah, it would be really interesting to hear someone from Topps perhaps come on the podcast sometime and tell us about it.
Right. Yeah, that would be nice. I mean, we've the invitations are out.
Now that there's two of you, one of you can come on the podcast while the other one holds down the fort.
For sure. There are also two people working on the Walking Dead card trader, both of whom have been invited on the show. So come on. There are 4 people at Topps out there. At this point, hey, I'll take any. If Mark Van Olen's listening, you can come here anytime you want. I don't even think he does anything with digital. I don't care. I'll talk to you all day.
He's the SIG master. He's the one who networks and gets all of the talent out there. Like I think he goes to a lot of conventions and stuff and networks with all the talent and lines up people to sign cards.
Well, then he should be networking with this talent, you and I over here. We will sign some cards. Our logo is cool enough to be a card. And we could sign it digitally. Bring me a tablet, and I will put my name on there. And you can sell it for $99. I will take less of a cut than Apple does. 10% is all I want on the $99 bundle with my signature.
$10?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. In fact, if anyone wants to just give me $10, I'll sign whatever you want.
Speaking of Walking Dead, just really quickly, because you touched on it a little bit before the podcast, Joe. What do you guys think about open-ended cards? Which is, if you don't know, they just released a new set. It's called Illustrated in Walking Dead. Don't hold me to that. I don't know that that's the name, but I'm pretty sure it's Illustrated.
Yep.
And one of the cards is 1 in 20, and they said that it was open-ended or no count, and then the pack goes away when all the count limited ones sell out. But what they didn't say in the transmission is that it doesn't even have a count on it. So you have no idea how many have been pulled, how many are in circulation. And so they're calling that open-ended. What do you guys think about that?
So here's the wording. Open edition. This variant is available in the illustrated pack at 1 in 20 odds until the other 3 variants sell out. Once that happens, these cards will not sell out, but will no longer be available until further notice. So, they will not sell out. At least not now. And we don't know what their plans are for the card. So it's hard to assess something like this until we see the life cycle of one of these things.
But if it's an open edition and there's no count, like, does it even matter that it doesn't sell out? Because even if more people are acquiring it later on, you'll have no idea because you don't know how many there are.
Right. It'll depend on what the mechanics are for pulling more. So once, I guess once the 2500 sells out, it's 1 in 15, which that should sell out. And then at that point, the blue red, the open edition, will no longer be available. That one is 1 in 20, so it's going to be less than 2,500. One would think at that point it'll be a card that's less than 2,500, and then depending on how frequently, readily, like who knows, maybe the next thing is going to be a pay version and nobody will buy it, or I don't know. Like it's hard to tell like what's going to happen after that. But it's an interesting experiment because so supply and demand will have a little bit of say. I think it would be different if it was kind of the trajectory was for it to finish off at say 500 to 1,000. Maybe it was gonna if the odds were such that you could sort of estimate that once everything sold out it would be at like 750 or something. It might be a little bit different, but in an app like this where we're looking at, it's probably going to not sell out, but the rest of the cards will sell out, and this will be at 1,800 or something like that, right? It's going to be, I guess, slightly lower than the 2,500 count, so 2,000 maybe, something like that.
Right.
It'll be kind of meaningless. It's almost like it might as well be 5,000 or 10,000 because there's just are there even 2,000 active players in this app? I don't know. But yeah, it's kind of interesting to see what'll happen with it and its value, I guess. But I don't know.
I think, yeah, like the only misstep in, if it's, an experiment, the only misstep would be just that the odds are stated and it's a variant, because then you can just kind of do the math like you did and say, well, there's probably 1,800 or 2,000 or whatever. I'd be really interested to see what would happen if they just released a card and said, this is an open edition, there's no variants, it's available for 6 hours, and then it's no longer available. And there's no count on the back, and so after 6 hours, it goes away, and those cards are just out there, but nobody has any idea how many are out there,
right,
and what that would do to the value of a card like that. I think that would be really interesting.
Yeah, that would be interesting. And maybe this is like the first step in doing something like that. I don't know. I was kind of bummed out when I saw the I saw the notification or whatever, and it said get some color with Illustrated, and I kind of got like I know I shouldn't have, but I kind of got excited for comic books. Walking Dead is from comics, and the comics are pretty cool. And I don't know. I just got a little bit excited for that. The card does look pretty good, but I was a little disappointed that it wasn't comics. And not that I expect them to. I actually don't think they'll ever put comics in there, but I got a little excited there for a second.
Yeah, that would have been really sweet. But it does seem to be pretty attached to the AMC rather than being attached to the comic stuff. So
yeah,
I'm going to go ahead and guess we probably will not be seeing any.
You never know. I guess if it's successful, they could maybe expand their license and try to get in touch with the who publishes it.
Probably Image.
Is it?
I don't actually know though.
Anyway, we should probably get to the poll.
Yeah, let's do that, because this has been a long time already.
Yeah, so we'll do it pretty quick. So a couple callers had already kind of mentioned some of the recent stuff and gave opinions on them, but we did a classic hottest Tatooine, coldest Hoth kind of poll. It had been almost a month since the last one of these. The sets in the poll were Armory, 8-bit, Battle Ready, Collage, Concept to Screen, Contour, Iridescent Pop, One of a Kind, Pack Art, Posters, Watercolor, and Other. And it's been a few days since we created this, so obviously like a bunch of things have dropped. We ended up recording a little bit later because of scheduling, but all right. So hottest, Joe.
Collage.
Okay. And Steven?
That's tough. Yeah, collages are great. I want to guess watercolor.
Watercolor is the victor. Watercolor was, of our 84 responses, Watercolor had 20 responses, which was 23%. Unfortunately, Collages only got 3 votes, which kind of surprises me because the collages are pretty cool. Only 3 votes, 3.6%. The second most popular was Iridescent Pop, and I think Joe B called that one. He said that was one of his, he thought was sort of one of the hottest ones. So it's a good call over there. And then coldest set. What do you guys think? Coldest set.
This is too tough to even call.
Maybe do the first and then the second.
I mean, I was gonna try to guess between 8-bit or Armory, but you threw Concept to Screen in there, and I feel like that has to be the victor.
Right. I'll just go with 8-bit straight up.
Okay, so those are the two. So Concept to Screen is by far the most of the 80 some odd, 84. 36.9%, 31 votes, 36.9%, and then 8-bit had 19 votes at 22.6% as the coldest set. Armory was next. And then I don't know. Any other thoughts on the recent sets before I move to one of these? I have a really interesting comment that's not related to these sets. Any last?
I've come to realize that the sets that I'm really okay with variants on are the ones where the variant is additive to the card itself. Like, for example, watercolors, where the variants are like the actual colors of the card itself. I think all of those look great. Like I've been collecting all of them. The only one I'm missing is the blue R2-D2. But yeah, I love those cards. And it's kind of similar with the new illustrated set in Walking Dead, where they have variants, but all the variants are the illustration color. So I think that's a pretty cool way to do variants, as long as they're all color, not black and white, sepia, and color.
Yeah, and I thought it was kind
of. I like that.
It was kind of neat that, like, say Boba Fett, you get to like the rarest Boba Fett, and it's the closest to the actual Boba Fett colors. Like, there was some thought put into that right there.
Yeah, it's not to mention
not to mention the same kind of thing happens with, or not the same kind of thing. A different thing happens with the splash of ink, the splatter. So, like, the gray Boba Fett is pretty clean, and then you get into the other color variants, and those are like the color is like splashed out. It's actually like a different image.
That's very cool. Whoever did that art, they did a great job.
Yeah, I like that. All right, so this is a complete left turn. This comment says, it's about Fourscore, and it's really, really interesting. It says, I've found the Fourscore to be difficult to understand. I've appreciated the discussion you've offered on the topic. Please take a look at in-game name Justin, which is Jusstinn, when you have a comment. When you have a moment. I'd be curious to hear your logic behind how a score of 81.22 could be justified. And I don't know if you guys can search that up pretty quickly, but your minds are about to be blown. I'm telling you right now, your minds are about to be blown. If you can find the user Justin, so Jusst, just search that.
Yeah, I found him.
And make sure you turn off 2015 or whatever. You see all his cards. And just scroll through his cards and think about the fact that he is an 81.22. And if you're listening right now, do this exact same thing.
Yeah, what? I thought there was a weird issue when it said he only had 9.1% collected, but I mean, he has like nothing.
Yeah.
I don't understand how a person has almost 2,000 trades and so few. And it's an active person because he's got the Empire Strikes Back radio drama poster. So this is not like an old account.
It's probably like, I mean, because this person has all of the daily things, like the crimsons and the red laser bursts and stuff like that. And this account clearly has been opening tons of packs. Like it's probably like a side account or something like that. But what's making this force score so high? Is it the fact that it's all
he
of
has a lot of is white hyperspace. He seems to have every card and a lot of them in multiples of white hyperspace.
That's interesting. The one thing that kind of occurred to me was a call we got a little while ago that suggested that having lots of dupes of 2015 sold out base cards could do it. But I don't know that this, I mean, he has a lot. Like if you look at blues, like 20 to 75 for, you know, like sometimes 100. Or if you look at reds, like he has a lot, but I don't know that it's like that much more than someone else who's been kind of playing since the start.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's great. Like looking at his collection, you're like, he doesn't have anything, and yet somehow he has 13,000 more cards than I do.
It's just pure volume. It's like that Saturday Night Live skit. Did you guys ever see, what was it called? Citizens Bank? Or not Citizens Bank. Citibank. Do you guys remember that one? Citibank, where it's all about this is a tangent. It's all about changing money. So the whole point is like you can bring in $1 and you can walk out with 20 nickels, or like, and it's like this. That's the whole sales tactic, is just changing your money into like coins, or changing your coins into dollars. And then the end of the punchline, like the end of the skit is like, how do you guys even make money? And the last guy, I forget the guy's name. I can't think of his name. It's the guy who does like Deep Thoughts, that guy, Jack Handy. The last thing is the question is, how do you guys even make money? And he just goes, volume. And it's like, this is like this really serious ending to this really odd, goofy skit about banks that just change money. But I guess that's what it is. It's volume. I don't know.
The one thing I'm wondering is that I don't know if you guys remember, but in the very beginning, when they were doing, they had a couple contests where, well, they had one specifically, and I think you may have mentioned it, Bill, where the person with the highest force score got to pick an orange base.
Yeah.
And at that time, the Force Awakens teaser cards, specifically, I think the Kylo Ren, gave you like a huge force score boost whenever you got that card. And so people were like trading those like inserts. And I wonder, because he has like multiple, like 6 or 7 of each of the those white Legends cards. And I know that they corrected the Force Awakens teasers, that they don't give you as much force score anymore, but I wonder if those Legends cards are giving a big boost to his force score.
That's an interesting thought.
That is weird.
I might have to do a little experimenting with those.
You know what?
Award Legends cards, if that's the case.
Yeah.
You know what I just noticed, Bill, is that my force score is 80.35. I don't know that I've ever been over 80, and I don't know how I got there now.
Volume.
Last I looked, I thought I was like, I thought I was like 78 or something. The last I looked, like maybe those power boxes really did it for me, or I don't know. I'm real confused about how that occurred. I have barely added anything to my collection since they dropped like 6 new sets, and somehow my force score is higher than I've ever noticed it.
Yeah, I can't even process this right now. It's just completely like everything that I thought about force score is now thrown to the wind. I don't know.
You need to pick up some of those old Legends cards and meld a ton of white hyperspace and see where you end up.
Exactly. Yeah, I guess I do. I mean, I don't know that he's got a ton of the white hyperspace. Although that was one of those things that I initially was like, I'm going to need to do this. Like, if I don't do the hyperspace, I'm probably going to like drop below 80. It's going to be this huge thing. So maybe I was right. Maybe I need to meld hyperspace.
You know, I realize besides Power Box, that's what I have done, is I've gone and gotten my hyperspace variants of Tarkin in every color. So I don't know how to give you that information and to wonder if it helps or hurts you in some way, but that's bizarre.
I wonder how that person found that account.
It's him, secretly. You know it is. Bizarre. Now I'm going to be staring at this account and just trying to figure it out. Yeah, I am so confused.
Here's one to change the subject a little bit. What do you think about the using the British, or I guess Canadian also, sort of British Empire spelling of watercolor? What are your thoughts on that? The O-U-R at the end?
Oh, I think I like it because it's easier to tell to type it in and find just this new set from the old watercolor set.
Yeah,
I kind of think that's why they did it.
Or from color quotes too. Yeah, cool. That's actually a good call. The Kanji Club guy, he actually said something else. He said Kanji Club rules, and it is spelled watercolor in app, because I spelled it O-R. Because I don't know. I don't really pay attention.
A long time ago, I can't remember if Steve was still there, if it was Jer, but I had made mention that the grays, anything that was gray in the app, that they spelled with Grey, would come up if you were searching for Ray. And at one point, they actually took action where they switched a bunch of, I think it was at the time that Modernography was coming out. They actually switched a bunch of the Grey to Gray, and so for a while there, it was only the rays that would come up when you put Rey, but they've since added Grey back into some of the sets.
Yeah, interesting.
So yeah, the variation in spelling things has always been pretty curious to me as well.
I read a lot of like British lit and stuff, so like to me they're interchangeable anyway. You know, it doesn't bother me one bit really. It's just interesting to try to get into like the mind of them and see why. I mean, I guess it's hard to ask that when just talk about somebody typing up something. They might have just mistyped, and because it's a real word, it didn't correct the spelling.
Maybe Chuck's from the UK. Who knows?
Sure.
Maybe he was the one who made the set. So Chuck, you can keep, when he comes on, you can see if he has a British accent or not, and then that'll answer your question.
There we go. Perfect.
British Chuck. Get him on the show.
So, is there anything else we need to touch on before we wrap this mega episode for this week?
No, I think we've gotten our usual hour and a half at this point.
Yep. All right, so I guess that's...
Can I have a Chewy? Hi, can I have a Chewy?
As you can tell, I'm home.
A Chewy?
Yeah, my son.
Like a Quaker Chewy or like a Chewbacca?
Right. That's
you know those little high chew things? I don't know if you guys have those over there on the East Coast.
Some weird
little chewy candies. It was very, very appropriate that he asked for a Chewy.
Yeah, exactly.
Not referring to Chewbacca.
Man. Okay, I'm leaving this all in, just so everybody knows. You get to see how the sausage is made. Anyway, that's it for us. If anybody wants to email the show, you can do so, tradefederationpodcast@gmail.com, or follow us on Twitter, @TradeFedCast, @LostStarWars, are you just I'm Vader? I don't even know.
On Twitter, I'm @SWCTVader.
Oh, there you go. Perfect. That's where you can find us. And if you happen to want to become a patron, you can always go to patreon.com/TradeFedCast. But we'll keep doing this forever, no matter what. So feel no pressure. So until next time, everybody, happy hunting.
May the 4th be with you.
When is the award? Has the deadline passed?